Hi friends, Jess here. I'm super excited today because I am going to take you on a tour of my kitchen, and this is something I've been meaning to do for a long time that I've heard that a lot of you would like to see. And so this week I've been thinking about excuses that we make as to why we don't want to do something or think we can't do something. One thing I hear from people is that, they think that if they have a poorly equipped kitchen or whatever, they think that they can't cook. And so I wanted to show you my kitchen because my kitchen is not ideal. It is very small and I can still make magic happen out of this kitchen. So if you have a small kitchen, not an excuse, you can still cook. So today I'm gonna show you that. All right, so here we go into the kitchen to walk down this long hallway. And this is it. This is my tiny little kitchen. This is all there is. Not very big, as you can tell. All right, so now that we're in the kitchen, I wanted to give you 3 tips about your kitchen organization, overcoming a small kitchen, stuff like that. So 3 things you wanna think about are, number 1, visibility, being able to see things. Number 2 is ease of use and convenience. So the things that you use the most often should be the most convenient to get out. I'll go into more detail on that. And number 3 is that you, especially in a small kitchen, you want to maximize your counter space and if in a big kitchen, you want to think about your counter space. So those are the 3 things we're going to talk about really quick in my kitchen, and I'm going to illustrate how I put those into play. So first is visibility. Visibility is just being able to see the things that you want to eat or use or things that you like, right? You want to be able to see beautiful stuff that you have and see all the beautiful food that you should be creating delicious meals from. So one of the things when I got to redo this kitchen for myself is that I wanted to increase the visibility. So I put all my dry goods into jars. I store as much as possible in jars, and I put them over here, which I'm going to give you a little tour, but so I increased the visibility that way. I also took the doors off of the shelves. So you can see the shelves have these doors. I mean, I live in a rented apartment, so the apartment has these ugly cabinets. I just took the doors off and then I put this tape on them. You can see behind me. And I stored my bowls and things that I think are beautiful in these so that I can see them better. And then over here, I store my jars, which are my main thing that I store things in. Okay, so here's my little, very small, skinny shelf, but it's very useful. So I have everything very well organized, sort of. Some of the things are out of place, but everything in jars so I can see it. All my legumes are over here. This is part of my spices, although I have a lot of spices, so they kind of extend. Nuts, grains, these happen to be chocolate chips and butters right now. This is like my produce shelf where I keep, this is kind of messy, but where I keep lots of produce. So my fresh produce, so I can see it like immediately when I walk into my kitchen from the hallway. This is what I see. And that reminds me to eat it. I have my compost. This is my bigger pot, and then my Instant Pot, which I use at least once a week, and recycling. Also, this is very convenient, but all my pots and pans, the ones that I use the most frequently, are down here. My coffee grinder, my hot water heater. Vitamix is just heavy, so that goes in the bottom. I don't use it that often. So you can see that I have everything very visible. I also write lots of notes to myself. These are my like superfood, whatever. This is like tea. This is my whole tea and coffee shelf because that's important to me. I went through all this. Okay, so now we're at the stove. Just want to show you that the extension of my spices. So we have like salt, pepper, some spices here. We have some other important spices here. Everything's labeled so you can see it above the shelf. Herbs, Indian spices. These are my most frequently used spices. This I'm taking back because it got moldy. And then just some other random stuff. I also have this pantry. Luckily, it's kind of for overflow in there, but which I'm very lucky to have that space. But mostly, I love having this where I can see it and be reminded to eat all of this delicious, beautiful food. So just to conclude on visibility, this applies especially regardless of the size of your kitchen and your pantry. If you can't see the food, you're not going to remember to eat it. So as much as you can increase visibility in your pantry, huge help for you to do. So that's my number 1 tip around visibility. And then also just bringing the stuff out that you like to see that's beautiful. If you have beautiful bowls, beautiful stuff, like make your kitchen a more enjoyable place to be by putting that stuff on display. Next up, ease of use. So in terms of how to organize your kitchen, where to put what, you want to put the things that you're using super often in a very, very, very convenient place to be. So if you're, and I'm going to illustrate this by telling you what I actually have on my countertops. So, and this relates to point number 3, which is to maximize your counter space. So especially in a small kitchen, you want to maximize your counter space. So I would really encourage you to not keep a lot of stuff on your countertops. The only things that should be on your countertops are things that you use every single day. So for me, the only things that I have on my countertops are my knives. Obviously, use that every day. Salt next to my stove right here. I have a big old container of salt, my little spoon rest. I cook every day, so the spoon rest gets used every day. And then on this, or the other thing you can keep on your countertop is something pretty that you like to look at. So for here, I have this little pottery that I made with my straws in it. When you're thinking about what to put in which drawers, you want everything to be in proximity of where you use it. So I don't have a ton of drawer space, so I keep all my, anything that needs to be stirred, I keep that on the back of the stove, so hopefully you can see that. But if you keep that in a drawer, you want to keep it right next to the stove. So another example of this ease of use is this drawer is where I keep my immersion blenders. I have 2 of them. I use these all the time. So I want them to be really easy to use, and I use them right here where I plug them in right there. And so for me to have them right here, it's super easy to take these out. If this was hidden, I would not use it because that would add an extra element of work to my task of immersion blending things. And so I keep these right here because I use them super often, and I want to use them super often. So to sum up your ease of use, you want to only keep things on your countertop that you use every single day or that you really enjoy looking at, especially if you have a small space, remember that. And then just keep things right where you need them. So your stuff that you use on the stove should be right by the stove. Your stuff that you use near your cutting board should be right by the cutting board. You want to keep everything very super easy to use so you're not fishing around for things. Also, the things that you don't use very often, those should go in the back, right? Because if it's out in the front, it's just kind of taking up space. Okay, and then the final point, number 3, is to maximize your countertop space, especially in a small space. And I'll do a couple sub notes on this because I talked about that a little bit in the last one. But for your countertop space, you want to really maximize it, especially if you have a small kitchen. And also try to just clear everything off because clean, clear countertops just make it feel like a nice place to get it all messy and cook everything, right? So you really want to try to clear off your countertops as much as possible. Now, this is all the counter space I have. As you can tell, this is not very much. So for me, the biggest improvement of this kitchen was adding this butcher block, which is from IKEA. This thing is my favorite. It's $99, which is the same price as a nice cutting board. And I can just cut everything on it. It has these drawers, it has these shelves, it has wheels, you can wheel it around. I love this thing, and it just doubled my counter space. And I also love having your cutting board setup is really important because if it's an effort for you to cut vegetables, you're not gonna do it. So here I can just cut everything, I put it right to the stove, it's amazing, and I just wipe it down with a cloth, and it's super easy to keep clean. Now I do not chop raw meat on this, obviously, I only chop fruits and vegetables on it, so that's totally fine. I'm also going to point out my portable dishwasher. This is a full-size dishwasher that can get wheeled up to the sink, and it hooks up to the faucet, and then I have to plug it in over here, and then it runs the dishwasher. But what I want you to notice about this is that I have my dish rack on top of it, and that otherwise, if I didn't have that there, I would have to have that here, and that would be taking up basically my entire countertop space. So if you're in a small apartment, your dishwasher thing is probably taking up a lot of space somewhere. So what I would encourage you to do is to at least be able to easily move this out of the way when you're cooking. So if this was over here, if I had to keep it over here, at the very least when I was cooking, I would move it somewhere else, I would move it. So having this kind of out of the way, but still convenient to the dishwasher, so I can just, put the dry dishes over here back and forth. It's super easy. I just turn around, but keeping this out of the way is a really good idea. So one more point about the cutting board. I really encourage you to, if you can, get a big cutting board that you leave out. If you cannot get a butcher block, if you don't have space for a butcher block, the next best thing would be a large cutting board that you just leave out so that you can always do this chopping very easily and just kind of keep it out on the countertop. All right, so that's your tour of the kitchen. No excuses. Small kitchen should not deter you from cooking. Doesn't deter me. Doesn't have to deter you. I hope you enjoyed it. Shoot me any questions that you have. I would love to hear what you think or anything else that you want to know. Okay, bye.